day in which youths are growing up is extremely different from the world of their parents' childhood. Screens have integrated into our daily lives. It's not surprising that kids are spending more time engaging with digital media more than ever before. So, joining us this morning to discuss digital well being for youths is Officer Amber Khan of HPD. Officer Khan is a 13-year veteran with the Houston Police Department and is currently the Officer of Community Affairs. In her years as a detective, she has worked many proactive investigations. Many have been social media driven investigations as well, involving narcotics and human trafficking. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome back not doctor, officer. I've had so many doctors on the show. I'd like to welcome back Officer Amber Khan to Chai Time. Good morning.
Good morning, Lynn. Thank you guys for having me. Me back.
I know. I'm so happy that you're back. You know, the first time when you were here with us, we were the first radio show that you came on.
Right.
And it was so wonderful to talk to you then. And I'm really looking forward to discussing this important topic with you as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is an important topic that, just spreading the awareness and stuff for our youth and to their parents is just for their own knowledge so that they can, have better communications about it and other things.
Yeah, definitely. So let's begin with what is digital well-being?
Well, so I'm sure you guys already covered this also when you guys were talking about imposter syndrome and all of that, right? As you just said, screen time, screens have become a really big part of our lives, especially post-COVID, because there's a lot more kids that are maybe homeschooling. There's already a lot of work that kids have to do online, on computers, laptops, whether it's at school or at home. Mm-hmm. And so digital well-being is just being able to, we have to accept the fact that we can't live a life now without, without screens. And so to have a healthy relationship with technology and to be able to balance that, and just as, diet and exercise is important for us, it's important for us to practice healthy amounts of time as far as online on screens.
Yeah, it is. And since the pandemic, we are more so onto our, all our devices, not only adults, but, little kids as well. So that has become our sort of like a company, part of the family, you can say.
Right.
So why is this important, and how do we limit screen time?
Okay, so it's important because, of course, there's a lot of health effects on our health, and especially, and we're talking about adults, it affects our health and well-being as well. And so more so with kids, because kids are still developing, they're still growing, and so it can have an impact on their emotional and psychological well-being, especially teenagers when they're already very concerned with their self-image and how they look, their perception and everything. And so social media, for instance, can really tend to distort that, especially like TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, all the filters that are out there, and not appreciating like who you are for your own self. And so it's important to be able to limit screen time, especially when kids are younger. Right. So some ways to go about doing that is, of course, have a conversation with the kids, tell them that, it's not so good for you to be always on your, device, whether it's tablet or phone. I know a lot of kids, younger kids, they end up having tablets, right? Like those little iPads, and, they have their little security on there. So, they're just playing games. But at the same time, too much screen time is not good for their health. It can also affect their sleep if they're on it too much, if they're on it a lot before they go to bed. And so it's important to be able to, if you're going to especially allow kids to maybe watch shows on YouTube, stuff like that, right? Because even adults tend to watch stuff on YouTube. Shy Time's on YouTube, right? So co-watching is really important, especially with like younger kids. And meaning that you guys are sharing that experience together. And then that way, if they are watching something or whatever, you can also kind of like talk to them along the way about whatever it is that they're watching, and also be like a teaching experience for them. Other ways to limit, of course, if you're going to tell your kids that, hey, you can't be on your phone, 20 hours a day, then that means you also have to model that behavior, right?
Correct.
So that's also really important. Of course, we're all aware of all the security protections that are on our phones. And so there's a lot, even like on like your kids' phones and tablets, there's a lot of ways to control what they're doing, how long they're on every single app, and security features and everything. So we can delve into that.
Yeah, let's get into that. I think all the parents want to know.
So there's a lot of free apps also, right? Let's say your kids already have devices, tablets, phones. So there's a lot of free apps like Daywise, Custodio, that's with a Q, Kids Locks, Norton Family, Parental Control. So there's a lot of free apps out there. There's some that you can pay for as well, like Bark. And they will kind of keep track of like texts, what websites they go on, all of that stuff. Now, outside of these apps, you can also do this on your own by, conducting checks of their phones, like random checks, right? And so this is something that you can let them know about, like be transparent with them. Maybe when you first buy them their phone, hey, okay, you're getting this phone. This comes with a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of things that are on here. It's good for you to use it, right? Because they should know how to use it. And there's a lot of positive things that are online too that they can benefit from as for school and everything else. But let them know that, hey, I will be checking your phone, right? I bought you this phone. I spent the money. I'm paying for the bill every month. And let them know you're going to check it, right? And they should be okay with that. Okay, let them understand and walk them through the settings. You can limit how much time that they're allowed to be on each app. Like apps have this built in because they're aware of the problems that some people are having, right? With tech addiction, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, you can limit how much time they spend on the app. And they build that in more so for adults, because even adults have a problem with these, social media apps. It's hard to just stay off TikTok. It's a quick video. It's a quick video. It's instant gratification, right? And so impatience is also something that, like child psychologists are seeing with kids, because instant gratification, you get what you want right away. Right? They don't have to wait between commercials to watch a cartoon like we did growing up. They can watch whatever they want when they want, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So some other important things is, aim for phone-free dinners, right? Meaning everyone, including you, don't have your phone at dinner time, right? At least have it on vibrate if you have to have it, if you're on call or, something like that for work. But kids definitely don't allow any tablets or phones at dinner. They get sidetracked. They really don't finish their meals, or they get the food all over the place, right? And so dinner time is like an important time where you actually get to kind of bond. And so, maybe if you want to have a TV in the background, right? But keep in mind that TVs are also a screen.
Yes,
so
that's right.
It counts as screen time.
Yeah.
So no phones at dinner time, and don't let them go to sleep with their phone. Right? So meaning that maybe you charge the phone in your room, or you charge your phone somewhere else outside of their room. And also with sleep, because there have been studies done where shows that, using your phones like right before you go to sleep can also cause problems with sleeping, falling asleep easily, anxiety, depression. There's a lot of different things that are associated with too much screen time. And so at least 1 hour prior to maybe sleeping, like, don't let your kids have their phone. Just take it and they're done for the night. And that way you're not worried about, them doing other things if they can't fall asleep.
Yeah, it's hard. I know I remember when my kids were young, at that time, cell phone wasn't an issue at then, but it was TV. So for us as a family, that was the rule, like no TV in, when we're having dinner. You have to have conversations. And it's not like you cannot have conversations, because we hardly see each other. Kids are constantly, they're in school all day. We are at work all day. So when you're having that one meal, there is so much to talk about. It's just how you bringing up, like how was your day, starting off that way, and then to continue with that. But I think sometimes, There are so many excuses that parents say that, oh, we don't have time, or, like they're so focused on the work that they forget that, you have to push work aside at that time, at least during dinner time, and then, focus more on the kids. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And so you get that FaceTime, and you can see, if your kid's just distressed, are they stressed out, are they anxious, what's going on. You can kind of see it on their face. It's your kids, so you're going to be able to tell, right? But you have to make that connection. You have to reach out to them and force them to have that conversation.
Yeah, it becomes a habit to them after that.
Right.
So, Officer Khan, share some right or wrong online behavior we should be aware of.
So, as I mentioned earlier, when you're about to buy your kid, for instance, their first phone, or you get them their tablet, right? To have that conversation with them, right? Like, okay, so you realize that there are people online that you may encounter that they're not all good people, right? Everything you find online is not true, right? There are people that make stuff up. And not everyone is being honest about their age, their name, or any of that stuff, right? It's also important to, before they start engaging in online apps, and this goes for like gaming and stuff too, right? Like Roblox and stuff. That's a really popular game for kids too. It's important to stress for them to not share all of their private information, like where they live, where they go to school, their phone number, their address. If somebody asks for stuff like this, like that's kind of creepy. Let them know it's kind of a red flag. So the same as as your kid would not wander off, in a dark alley that's by themselves and it's creepy and scary. Then tell them that the internet can also have scary places like that, and so it's important to be safe. Yeah. Right? And if anything creepy is happening, if somebody's reaching out to you and asking you for a picture, or asking for a phone number, like I said, things like that, it's important for them to let you know, right? And ask your kid, what would you do if you're on this app and somebody says, well, starts asking you for your name, or asks you for, can I get a picture of your face? And that sounds harmless, right? A picture of your face, right? But then we don't know how that progresses, right? Or if someone online that they don't know them in real life, is asking, oh, how are you doing? You seem like you're upset. What's wrong? Right? Okay, like the stranger online is not genuinely interested in what's going on with you, right? Let your kids know. And, if you can, if your kids are online, like on Instagram, stuff like that, which is they shouldn't be on it until they're at least teenagers, right? Like maybe high school, because that's just what they're doing nowadays. But if they are, then see if you can add them as a friend, if that's allowed. I mean, it might not be the coolest thing, but at least this way you can kind of know what their social circles are and kind of monitor what they're posting. Because again, also let them know, since you are going to be checking their phones and stuff, the internet is a place where things don't disappear, and it's not very forgiving, right? And so they have to be careful what they post, right? And this is very important for like pictures and stuff. So let them know, hey, if you don't want me to see this, if you wouldn't want your dad to see this, if you wouldn't want your teachers, your classmates or friends to see this, then don't post it online, because it's not going to disappear, okay? And Snapchat, people, everything does not disappear on Snapchat, okay? You can take screenshots without knowing that the person took a screenshot. So that is totally possible nowadays. So, explain to them the stuff that they think, like TikTok. Oh, everyone wants to make TikToks. Everyone wants to have YouTube channels, right? The kids. Everyone wants to be an influencer. And, and they could have a positive YouTube channel, right? They could maybe be like doing a cooking show or something, I don't know, or maybe makeup tutorials, whatever it is that they're interested in, but let them know of the risks that come with all of that, right? There's a lot of people online that are just out there to make people's lives miserable, and, not necessarily for money, right? And, but they're out there nonetheless, and just be careful with what you send on your phones.
Yeah. It's I mean, I'm not very tech savvy, especially with Snapchat and things like that. But isn't there a certain age you can open an account, or is it just open?
So I know that they are not supposed to, well, as long as you have an email address, really, and they'll ask you for your
Okay.
age. But I mean,
You
kids
can put
could lie
your,
about their age,
you can put,
right?
okay,
You could
all
make up
right.
anything. You could have multiple accounts, right? In like for proactive investigations, for instance, I've had multiple accounts. I still have like they're still out there. So if a kid really wanted to, they could create an account, and of course, what they see is based off like algorithms of what content they like, maybe their friends and things like that. And so you're thinking, oh, it's all good friends on there and nobody's looking at bad stuff because they're all good kids. But, of course, like TikTok, Instagram, they're promoting, they're making money off promoting stuff, right? Even though it's a free platform in a sense. So the stuff that has like the most likes, whatever's the most popular, that stuff is still going to pop up,
Hmm.
right? And of course, there's like predators online, right? Just like there are in person. And so people are going to pose as things they're not. Guys will pose as girls, pose as younger people. Completely different person. They might not have any pictures at all. They might have pictures. There's just lots of different things. And so again, it's important for you as a parent to have access to their apps, right? If the kid's at a point where maybe you guys are not on the best of terms, maybe they're teenagers and they're rebellious at that point, right? And that happens. But if they won't let you in their app, for instance, then you can still go into like security settings and find out like where the data is being used the most.
Okay.
And so that's another way to find out where are they spending the most time,
Okay.
right? And then, so let's say your kid's getting on Instagram, right? Make sure it's a private account, right? You don't want it to be a public account because that means anybody and everybody sees everything they post, right? Turn their location settings off. That's important because you don't want people to know where they are. And this is important for adults too. You don't necessarily want to put all your stuff out there, right? Like if your kid's on vacation, then you're on vacation. Now somebody's out there knows that you're all out of town and oh, this is a great time to go to their house and get whatever they have and just stuff like that. So every single app has its own security built in, whether it's Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok. And I mean, we can always delve into super all of that like another time, getting into settings and all that. But you can totally control all of that, just like with apps and everything else, and with the other security apps and stuff too.
Okay, so like during COVID time, everyone was at home. There was, like we couldn't meet our friends, couldn't see our families. Everyone was on social media or using their devices, right? So, in your field of work, did you find there were more cases then, or was it just still the same? Because there's cases increase depending on, I guess, how things are at present, right? So in your field, has it changed much, or is it basically still the same?
I haven't done like a before and after for stats as far as
Correct.
before COVID or after COVID, but I know that everyone was more online, right? Especially I feel like TikTok kind of blew up more during
Okay.
COVID, and also Snapchat, and so I know that there were like that there was kids were stuck at home and they still wanted to communicate with friends,
Correct.
and so like kind of like what we were talking about earlier, where they were kind of playing games of like puff puff pass, for instance, like on Snapchat, where everyone would just like record themselves taking a puff of a vape or whatever it is, and then they'd send it to the group chat because you can have it start a group chat on there too, and then they would just all take turns and keep going until they passed out.
Oh, wow.
So one of the instances,
Yeah.
and I would say that it was just a very different time for us, and I think things are getting more back to normal. So now that activities are more available for kids to do, it's important to get them physically active too, and interacting with people in real life, because that's one of the struggles also that millennials are having, is how to communicate with people in real life, right? They're so used to just doing everything on the phone. They don't necessarily pick up on communication cues, body language, and all of that. So even though it's still scary, some people are very scared still of COVID and other stuff and monkeypox and everything else that's going on. But it's important for us to have those everyday interactions in real life, especially for our kids, because they learn by what they see, their environment, and all of that.
So it was more challenging for you all then during that time?
I would say that, I didn't just focus on internet stuff, but it was a lot easier to get more stuff. For instance, like in 2021, according to like the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, there were over like 42,000 cases of child pornography and stuff just online in Texas.
Oh my god.
Just in Texas, right? Which is a really high number.
It is, yeah.
Right. So.
Wow, that's just, sometimes I just think about it like, is it better to really have social media and have all of this than better not to?
And so I believe another research study says something that there's like 51% of interactions of that sort that are sort of sexual in nature was like Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier, like, we always say it's like mostly it's the boys, right? Like we are worried about the boys because of, like when you were talking about the game they were playing with vaping and things like that. And we said, yeah, it's the boys or whatever, right? But even girls, girls are more also maybe for other reasons, right? That they...
Yeah, absolutely. They're more susceptible to falling prey to online predators, right? Of course, especially when they're teenagers, you're very like self-conscious of your body. How do I look? And then, you look on Instagram and it's like, oh, these people are perfect. Look at her body, all these workout videos, right? And then all this work that they're getting done. And so you have to explain to the kids that, look, this is not real, right? And even on TikTok, they have videos where they show you how to pose to look skinnier, how to look like, and all of that. So it's important to explain all of that stuff, so that they don't fall victim to, being more self-conscious of what's going on. And if they are particularly very concerned with how they look and things like that, they're very sensitive or, feeling very negative about themselves, then maybe have them take a break, from Instagram or take little breaks here and there. If they feel like they need to connect with their friends that way, then that's fine, but, maybe limit it more.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard, like with the adults, they detoxify. So in a sense, they do that. Yeah. They turn off their social media. They turn off, they have their phones only for phone calls, but they don't go on any social media platforms because they want to just kind of take a break, like you said. So, I guess it would be hard for the kids, though. Like for adults, it's like, setting your mind ready for that. But for kids, I think that would be really difficult, especially teenagers.
Right. But, again, like if they're experiencing negative symptoms or, there's also like research done that shows that especially younger females have higher tendency of, thinking of suicide and self-harm, and negative body images, then, like explain to them, they're living in a fake world, right? And so that's another thing to look at is what does their profile look like online? Is it them, or is it like a completely other person that you're like, what? Who is this kid?
All right, let's go on a quick break, and when we come back, we will continue our conversation with Officer Khan. This is Chai Time on 99.5 FM.
With their parents.
Welcome back to Chai Time on 99.5 FM. We are in conversation with Officer Khan, and we have been talking about the internet, the safety, the well-being for our kids, of course. And, like I was just saying that while on break that it's a real struggle for parents, for all of us as parents. because we do want to implement safety. We do want to make sure our kids are okay. And like I said, like we do have restrictions, we restrict them, but sometimes we are to a point where for how long or to
Sure.
what extent, right? So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like we were talking about, it's
Yeah.
important to have conversations with your kids, know who their friends are, know
Yeah.
their social circles, right? And that way, if you have that open communication with them and be very non-judgmental, right? Um, Not saying that you're going to be their friend, right? Of course, you know what's right and wrong, but at the same time, make it like a safe space so that they can come to you if they are, experiencing something online or even in real life. So make it okay for them to come to you without them feeling like you're going to judge them.
Hmm.
That, oh my God, what did I do? Or oh my God, I can't believe this happened. But that's really important. And of course, kids, if they really want to do something, they're going to find a way to do it. but
They're smart.
but half the battle is educating the kids about
Correct.
the things that they can come across online
Yeah.
and know how the apps work, right? Like, okay, your kids have Instagram, but do you know how it works? Like, do you know how to access it? Do you know what's cool and how, so know how the apps function, right? And then as far as like gaming goes, like Roblox or online gaming where there's chat rooms and all of that stuff, just maybe sit there, maybe watch them play. And just so you can listen in, because there are cases of, like registered sex offenders that'll get into these games and be playing, and then they start having like weird conversations with your kid, and your kid's like, oh, that's weird, but maybe they don't think anything of it, right? And so this isn't about kids being bad. This is not about your kids. This is not about that you don't trust your kids or kids are trying to be mischievous and do devious things. It's about everything else that's out there that they're being exposed to, right? So, for instance, in a survey that was done last year, in a survey of 1,000 kids between the ages of 9 and 17, they found that 28% agreed that it was okay to send like a nude picture. I mean, that's a really high number for such a young population, right? 17% said they shared a pic online with someone on social media. 50% said that they didn't even know that person in real life. Right, now where did these pics go? We don't know. They're still out there. They're somewhere. And, of course, not everyone that is asking for pictures is necessarily a bad person or is going to do anything with the picture, but just be aware of that it's out there. 1 in 4 kids will be asked for like a nude picture. Kind of like how we talked about human trafficking and, when they're runaways, that they'll be approached in the first 24 hours if they want to have, sex or prostitute themselves. So just be aware of the dangers, right? Explain these things to your kids. What are the outcomes of something like that, right? Explain to them about pictures, like nude photographs, okay? Okay, it's out there, right? It's kind of taboo, but let's just talk about it, get it out of the way, okay? If you're underage, if you're under the age of 18, that's child pornography. So it's very important to stress this to boys, right, and girls alike, because if a boy says to bless them with a picture, which is what the term is, right? Meaning like, hey, bless me with a picture, like send me a picture, then keep in mind that's child pornography, okay? And then if that boy goes and shares it with other people, now he's distributing it, right? And then possession of it also, right now, also there's the whole thing, like if they're bullying somebody, cyberbullying, like making fun of them for how they look or whatever it is, and then you're passing pictures like that of other people, now you're passing it, I mean, and then if a parent should find out at some point, I mean, that's legal trouble for your kids, right? So it's really important to stress that. I mean, that's possession, distribution of child pornography.
Okay. And so what is grooming then?
So grooming is also kind of what happens to victims of human trafficking, right? Or like what pimps will do. So, they'll look online, they'll be looking for people that look like, mainly girls, that look like, they're insecure, maybe they're posting sad stuff, maybe they don't have a lot of friends. A lot of times kids will post how they're feeling, whether it's through a meme, right, or a quote that you're like, oh, it's like a sad, like emo type quote, or maybe it's the Joker quotes from the Joker movie. So based on what they're posting, people will be preying on them based off their posts, right? Or maybe there's a certain hashtag that kids have used that these people will be online, these online predators, and they'll pose as anything but themselves, right? Of course, I'm not going to say how old they are. They're going to say however old the kid is. They'll say, oh yeah, I'm this old, right? And they'll try to befriend them, ask them what's wrong, what's going on. They'll try to build them up, like really create that relationship. And you're just wondering, like in your head, like, how did my kid get involved in this basically online relationship, right? And so, some ways to prevent that is if you start seeing changes in how they're behaving, your kid, maybe if they're being more distant, more isolated from you, missing school, being more secretive. Let's say you just walk in on them while they're on their phone and they quickly change the screen, or very abrupt behavior, something like that. So again, this is just open conversations, just, knowing what's going on in your kid's life. And we're all really busy, right? Yeah. We're all busy working harder than ever because everything costs so much more money. But just be cognizant of what's out there and look for different behavior. If they start talking about like sexual things, or if they start talking about different stuff, dressing differently, if they randomly have a new gift or something they received and you're like, oh, where did this come from? I didn't get you this, so yeah,
you just have to be on with the kids. Like, you have to be there for the kids, like you said. Open communication, that is key, I guess, for to make sure that the kids are safe. I think with communicating with the kids, many times as parents we give all these restrictions. No, you cannot do this, you cannot do this, don't do this, don't do this, and all that. But then we forget that we should give them a reason and why we should not.
That was my biggest thing.
Right? Because as parents, we're always saying we think we have the authority. Not we think, we do, but in our minds we are like, it's for the safety of our children. But we need to let them know that it is for their safety, and sharing stories or articles and reading these things, that incidents that do happen in our city, and having those conversations as well makes it so much more real for them. Right.
That was my biggest thing growing up. It's like, okay, don't do this, but why? Why do I not do this? Tell me why, right? Yeah. And so that's why it's like, look, this is all for your betterment, right? Let them know about the pictures. Talk to them about strangers online, stranger danger online, right? And as long as they know why, then they themselves are not going to want to fall victim to that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
they
scary.
Themselves don't want that to happen. They just want to be cool. We'll have a good time with their friends. That's what they want. But there are a couple of different sites that they can also use on their own. Like, let's say, for instance, they don't want to come to you because they're like, oh no, this is weird. I don't want to talk to my mom. But so like Love 146, that's a site that they can go to. That's for kids, like, so that it's more relatable for them, right? And then No Filter, which is NOFILTR, so no E. That's another one. And this is for them, like, if they feel that they can handle the problem themselves, and maybe they want to reach out, but they don't want to talk to you about it as a parent, right? They feel weird about it, which is fine. So kids also, are very resourceful. So if they can handle it themselves, let them handle it themselves. But as long as they know that there's stuff they can do, right? Like blocking people, stuff like that. What to do, like, hey, okay, so you block this guy. Now what happens? What if he creates another account, wants to reach out to you, then what?
Yeah.
Are you going to go to the cops? Are you going to go to a teacher? Are you going to do something? And let's talk about, let's say something has happened, right? Let's say maybe they meet someone online and maybe this person's bullying them, right? Or maybe this person is coaxing them into some sort of weird relationship, right? That's kind of creepy. And maybe you come across it on the phone. right? So what do you do now?
Right.
So like keep that stuff, like screenshot it or take a picture with your phone of it, because if there is something that is of concern, then it's something that your local police department can look into. Okay. We have our own divisions that specifically look into whether it's internet stuff with children, right? Whether it's like asking for like pictures of young kids, whether it's drug stuff, because there's a lot of drug stuff online too. And so you just got to reach out to somebody. And if there's somebody out there that needs to talk to somebody, I'm here, and you guys can reach out to me, and we'll figure out the best way to go about that. But definitely keep all of that stuff. Don't delete it. Take screenshots of it, and then we can figure it out from there.
Okay. And so what are some incidents that you have come across in past investigations?
So as I said, I've had, of course, my own alias accounts, right? And so I've had it happen a lot where, I mean, I wouldn't even post pictures of myself, right? Because that's not, I'm not going to put myself out there like that. Correct. But, and I'd have a lot of people hit me up, like in my DMs, for instance, like on Instagram, right? That's really big. Yeah. Especially guys. And based off what you post, they're going to try to talk to you in that way. And so most of my stuff is just, being cool, posting pictures of cool food or cool places or pictures of quotes, memes, stuff like that. And so, I mean, I've been approached like without me even reaching out to anyone, like hey, do you want to hang out? What can I get for you? And then so there was one instance where I was just like, the guy reached out to me like, hey, you want some like X pills, and I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like, me as an officer, I'm like, sure. This is how we do stuff, right? So, and so he was gonna get me the drugs, but really only because he wanted to pimp me out. He wanted to, have me get into that.
Oh, okay.
And so there was a lot of talking and texting, and then we were talking on the phone. And so, and then ultimately, of course, we met and everything else for him to get arrested. But,
Thank God.
People will go about their ways of what it is that they want. Because even I was like, yeah, this guy is a drug dealer. But no, he's not a drug dealer. He's a wannabe pimp, right?
Correct.
And that's just with me, right? But, I mean, of course, I've spoken to, unfortunately, some kids also where, their parents found out that they were purchasing drugs online. It's very big out there. Snapchat, Instagram, Telegram, Signal, WhatsApp, all these like texting platforms and social media sites. You can buy drugs however you want. They'll deliver it to you. You can cash up them the money. You can PayPal them money. You can, however you want it. They'll deliver for kids. And that was the instance with some of these other kids that I ended up having a conversation with, is that they're affluent families, right? Like well-to-do, parents have good jobs and all of that. But the kids were having the drugs delivered, and parents come home, find their kid passed out. And these are like 11 and 12-year-old kids that I was talking to. So very young kids. Yeah. And it's a whole other topic as far as drugs go, but just know that pills, vape pens, marijuana, all of that stuff is out there. And sure, marijuana is like almost legal, but again, think of 11, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds smoking like 95% potent THC. That's a lot for a child. Enough to make him pass out, throwing up, everything else. Keep in mind everything isn't what it's supposed to be either.
Yeah,
right.
It's worrisome. I mean, Olivia has a 12-year-old son, so and he's in what? He's in middle school, right? Yeah, and he'll be going to high school as in a few year or so. And we always say it starts in high school, but now we hear stories that it's even in middle school. Like kids, because you're saying 11, 12, so they're still in middle school. So that is very disturbing.
I mean, I went to school down the street here at Jane Long. That's where I went to middle school, and I mean they were selling marijuana in class. Oh, wow. But that was way less potent marijuana than what's out there today, right? So, just not saying you're going to monitor your kids' every move, not saying you're going to be a Nazi and worry about all this stuff day and night. Of course, you're already worried about your kids, but just here and there, like check on them, see what's going on. If you find their behavior different, being erratic, acting differently, talking differently, weird smells, or you find weird stuff, just talk to them about it. You're not going to just spank them or take all their stuff away from them. Just have a conversation with them and see how they got there. Like, what happened? Why? So.
Yeah. And there are so many misconceptions as well within our community. We think, no, it won't happen to our children. They are they're well brought up, and we are conservative. We are conservative families, and this will not happen. So it's like in our minds, it's like it's not going to happen to our kids.
Right.
It always happens to the low-income children or low-income families, or kids, families who need the money, and kids who are the bad kids, like they say.
Right.
And same things with schools.
Right.
A lot of times it's that belief that it only happens to schools in bad areas. It's not schools in good areas, right? And
which is very untrue.
Which is so untrue, because even when my kids were growing up and they were in high school, the very first day I remember my son telling me that they had other kids saying, "Hey, you want something? You want something to feel good?" And they would literally sell it behind the school building. So even in that time, it's still happening, and it's happening even more so because when with social media and being more on our devices.
Right. And again, not that your kids are bad or want to do anything bad, but like, for instance, if you go on Instagram, the explore feature, right? What do you see? All kinds of stuff, very, very like sexually stimulating, all of that stuff, right?
Right.
And so our kids are becoming more desensitized to sexual content, and also to like violent images and stuff. And so that's why it's important to just know what's going on. And it's not a matter of, oh, it's never going to happen, they're not going to see this, they're not going to see that. I mean, because they are, right? Even in TikTok, Explore, all of that stuff. So it's more about just educating them, and so that they make informed decisions about the stuff that they're coming across, just like with drugs, because drugs are not what they are anymore. It's just, it's like X is not X. It's meth. It's all meth.
Correct.
So just teach them about the dangers about, experimenting and things like that.
You're so passionate about this topic.
I am. You think I have kids, but I just hate that our kids get preyed on like this by like adults,
Yeah.
So, I mean, like that one case, I was like friends with this guy for like a year and a half online before he finally decided to like meet up with me and sell me stuff. So,
and you were doing your job, so how to handle it and what to do. But then when while you are doing your job, you're probably thinking about, what about these kids who unknowingly fall into this trap,
they don't know what they're getting. I mean, drug dealers aren't out there like, oh, this is a good amount of this. This is good potency for this. They don't care about that. It's just about the money, right? And so it's one thing if it's adults that are making their own informed decisions and that's their choice. But kids don't get a choice in that, right? Like, they're kids. They don't know any better. They're still developing physically, emotionally, and all of that until, 25 or something? Their frontal lobe and stuff is still developing. So,
So do schools have programs where the officers can go and, talk or make them aware of things of safety and things like that? Or
they have resource officers. I just don't know how much they do.
Okay.
I don't mind doing it if
Yeah.
someone wants me to go
that
talk
would be a
to
good idea.
some kids. But yeah, I mean, definitely, I don't mind having that conversation. It's something we could set up in the future.
I know HPD before COVID. I mean, we always had, we had Assistant Chief Bashir come on the show. We had Sergeant Yusuf come on the show, and they would talk about the different programs that
Right.
HPD had, and it was wonderful. Like they had ones for youths and kids also,
We have
right?
like 6 different youth programs, which next time maybe I'm on, we can talk about all the stuff that our community
Yeah.
is not taking advantage of.
But is it
Because
back on now? Has it started
yes,
again?
yes,
Okay.
definitely. We have a bunch of programs to get kids more involved, like physical activity for them. Even officers that serve as like mentors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just another person that they can talk to, maybe confide in if they feel like it, and even just and it's all free, right? Because
Okay.
especially our division, like we're big on doing a lot of stuff with the kids. We have the Explorers program.
Yeah.
They can even get scholarships for that, like
Oh, wow.
for college, and GH Pals. We do stuff with the Boys and Girls Academy or Boys and Girls Club, sorry, and yeah, we have
Yeah.
a lot of stuff
And any
for
certain
kids.
ages, or is it
Basically up through high school.
okay?
So if there are high schools, for instance, that we don't necessarily cater to right now, or if we don't have officers that are mentoring in those schools right now, then again, just people can reach out to me, and I can hook you guys up with one of those people, and yeah,
Okay. And is there any
get them involved.
number you can share with our listeners?
That would be a good idea.
I put you on the spot.
I don't.
Because
I'm gonna have to look up the number but it'll be the Office of Community Affairs.
Okay.
And
All
that's where I work, and that's where we do all the positive policing and positive interactions with the community.
Yeah, and it
So,
sounds like fun. I mean, not
It's
only
fun.
kids, I mean, us adults can go come and
Right.
visit and
Yes.
learn something, right?
Yes. Well, we also have the Citizens Police Academy, right? Which is
Okay.
for the regular citizen to go through. It's a few weeks long, but you kind of get to go through sort of a police academy, but for you guys, so you get to experience what it's like, and you get a
get to ride
certificate. You can definitely do it on
Okay.
ride along.
That would be
Right.
fun to just go right
Yes.
along with a police officer
Yes.
and learn. I mean, just going for a drive and just
Just an
seeing.
adventure over the weekend.
Yeah. So
Right.
before we wrap up, any message for our parents watching, our listeners, and even our young youth who are
This segment wasn't to scare people or anything like that. It's just so that you guys can be more informed about what's out there, and just know what your kids are being exposed to,
Okay.
and just try to have that relationship with your kids to where they can come to you and talk to you about things.
Okay, perfect. And we will share that number on our Facebook
Yeah,
page.
sorry.
On our Facebook page. But thank you so much, Officer Khan, for joining us this morning on Chai Time.
Definitely,
It was,
definitely.
such great information. I know it is overwhelming for us parents, and sometimes it's such a scary place, but it does
Right.
not have to be, right? Like,
Right. I can give my my work number.
Sure.
If someone has questions about our segment today or needs guidance or anything, it's 832-727-5496.
Okay, 832-7.
727
Uh-huh.
5496.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much. And thank you, listeners, for joining us here on Chai Time this morning. I hope you guys, enjoyed the show, got a lot of information. And if y'all want to get in touch with Officer Khan, she has shared her number. So any
my work
questions?
number.
Yeah. Any questions, she's open and, willing to answer them. Anything related to the topic we talked about today. So take care. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Have a great week. And signing off, this is Chai Time on 99.5 FM.